Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday Workshop Live. We're finally doing our workshops live. I love it. I have been waiting to be able to do this with you all and find a time. And I hope this is a time that is working for you all. And just remember that if this time doesn't work perfectly for you, you can always rewatch another time. So I'm so glad to have you all with us. Please go ahead, sign in, say hello, tell us where you're from. We're going to be here tonight for about an hour, maybe a little less, but I'm trying to promise you that we won't go over, because I know there is another event that starts at 7 o'clock that you all want to get to. I understand that, or that many of you want to get to. I understand that. So I'm trying to keep it to an hour or a little bit less. And that less probably will be determined mainly by you guys and the questions you want to ask, because this is your night for questions and answers live, to meet other people. If you know other folks that you know are on here with you, say hello, get to know everybody. Again, for all the folks coming in, I'm Diana. I am so uncommon, and I'm the creator of the Build-a-Quilt system. And that's why we're here tonight. So I'm just going to give you all just a little bit more time to get checked in. Please comment. Let me know, did you see the preview screen and hear the music that I was playing? I would really like to know that. It's the first time I've used that before a live event, and so I kind of need your help to know if it worked or not. So if you saw this, let me show you, and you heard some kind of acoustic music going with it, would you please let me know that in the comments? That way I can if you were here before 6 o'clock, because I want to know if that works or not. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it so much. And I am so thrilled to have you all here tonight. Like I said, I've been really excited to do Wednesday workshops live. I feel like that's a better scenario than adding a whole nother day, which we had tried to do the Friday lives and stuff. But on Wednesday workshop live, we're going to be doing actual projects and stuff together. So I'm so happy about that. All righty. So go ahead and check in. Let us know who you are, where you're from if you want. That would be great. And I want to start out tonight with letting you know, like, what is Wednesday workshop going to be? And one of the reasons I want to tell you guys about that is because I got a couple of emails from some newer viewers, and I think that's great. I love getting your emails and your requests and stuff, but asking, like, what is Wednesday workshop? Do I need to pay a fee? Do I need to sign up? Anything like that? And that is a fantastic question. It was kind of my fault that I didn't say anything. Hi, Pam. How are you, Pamela? Nice to see you here tonight. Thanks for joining us. And the answer to that is no. Wednesday workshop is something you don't have to sign up for because it's every Wednesday night. Now, sometimes we'll be doing some ongoing projects together. So you might have to go back and kind of watch a couple from the couple weeks before or something to catch up if you want to do a project with us. And sometimes there will be completely free patterns. Sometimes patterns might cost like $5 to $7. But you'll be told about that in advance so you know about that. Because you guys know, I shared this with you guys a lot last year when we were really getting So Uncommon started. Hi, Ruth. Good afternoon. Good evening. I guess it's good afternoon where you are, Ruth. Hi. I'm so glad to have you with us. So when we started, I told you guys this last year that I do this, one, because I've been a quilter for over 55 years. And I've done my piecing by hand. I moved into doing my piecing by sewing machine. Now I have created Build-a-Quilt to do it with the embroidery machine. But the reason I brought it all to you guys is because I have friends that are machine embroiderers and they wouldn't quilt with me. Made me very sad. They wouldn't quilt with me. And so I created this system basically so I could get my friends to come quilt with me. And I actually love it. I'm someone who has had carpal tunnel surgery on both hands in the past. So, trying to take care of my hands is important. There's not as much repetitive stress with in the hoop piecing and quilting. So I love that. But the other thing is I want to make this, although this is a business, I want to make it accessible to everybody. Anyone and everyone that wants to quilt and do patchwork, I want to make it available to you. So I do a lot of free patterns, and occasionally I do patterns at a small nominal charge. But like I said, you'll know that in advance. And Wednesday night workshop is just going to be that. We're going to be using the Build-a-Quilt system. We're going to be doing it with our embroidery machine. Some weeks we're going to be doing the finished quilting with our embroidery machine, which, we love. And I know that there are a lot of you out there that really want to know more about the actual quilting part. We're going to get to that. And in fact, something I'll be showing you and sharing with you in a little bit, I'll tell you more about that as well. Now, if I start doing this, you guys, I'm not having a technical hot flash. Those are years in the past for me, thank goodness. But it is blue blazing hot here in Illinois in our area. And I am this room doesn't get the air conditioning very well. So the temperature is like way, way up in the 70s in here. That's why I've got my little summer shirt on. But if I start doing this, that's why. It's because it's really warm in here. So instead of my typical coffee, I have water. Did you guys bring your favorite beverage? Did you bring coffee or tea or water or pop or whatever you like to drink when you're doing your quilting? I hope so, because this is our time just to kind of chill out and relax and do some fun quilting together. So again, if you're just checking in, please let us know who you are and where you're from. I'd love to hear that. And again, if you were here before 6 o'clock and you saw this and heard some music playing, would you let me know in the comments? Because that will help me. It's the first time I used that to go before we actually went live and to do the music. So I want to make sure that works. All right. So what is Build-a-Quilt? Tonight we're really going to kind of start at the beginning of how Build-a-Quilt works, the tools you need, things like that. And we're going to talk about our new project that we're actually going to start next week. But tonight is going to get us all ready and set to do it. And there's going to be a demo. I'm going to show you I'm going to tell you about a pattern that you can grab so that you can learn what I'm going to show you tonight, practice this week. And then I'll also show you the project, the digital photo of the project, the diagram of the project, the graphic, that's the word I want, the graphic of the project, because I don't want to show you the finished one until next week. but I want to show you what it is. And there is going to be each Wednesday night workshop, there is going to be a question of the week, and they're hard. So, get your thinking caps on. There's stuff like, what's your favorite color? That can actually be really hard, can't it? Do you guys have a favorite color? Let us know in the comments what your favorite color is, because if a lot of you like certain colorways and stuff, I'll try to do projects in those colorways. Sometimes seeing projects in the colors that we love make them more interesting for us. So let us know if you have a favorite color. That's not the question for this week though, but there's other hard questions like, what's your favorite beverage when you do your quilting? That kind of stuff. Not hard at all, just fun questions. But at the end of the night, all of those that have answered that question will get a random drawing for a pattern if we have a new pattern available. So just some fun stuff, because again, this is our time to get together and have fun doing stuff together. All righty. So what is Build-a-Quilt? All right. So you can kind of see mine over here. This is one of my home embroidery machines. It is doing patchwork in the hoop of your embroidery machine. You can see behind me a couple of the blocks that were from the Riley Blake Block Challenge, and a larger block that we had back at the beginning of this year, pieced segment by segment with the hoop of your embroidery machine. Sometimes there are multiple segments done all in one hooping, and sometimes you do single segments and then they all get put together. Now, yes, they are sewn together on our sewing machine. However, I know some of you are going, oh, I'm out, I'm done. No 1/4-inch foot needed. No, like having to be really precise needed, because all of that stuff gets built into your Build-a-Quilt patterns. See the black line here? I did it in black so you guys could see it. I try to remember those things. And the reason that you have that line there is so that when you go to sew pieces together, let's say, I mean, these are not the right size. Do I have two here that are right size? Yeah, these are probably. So I have a block here and a block here. If I go to sew these together on my sewing machine, I don't need a 1/4-inch foot. I don't need to be jury rigging my needles, anything like that, because all I have to do is sew right down that line. And then my piece comes together. And as long as you can follow that line, you're in good shape. So it's really so easy to do, guys. I tried to make patchwork, I don't want to say brainless, because we don't want to do stuff just robotically and stuff, but I tried to take away some of the things that I know keep people from wanting to quilt. And to be honest, those were some of the things that my friends were telling me, I won't quilt with you because that 1/4-inch thing drives me crazy, stuff like that, right? So I tried to take that away in the Build-a-Quilt system. So we make the segments. Sometimes, like I said, you can make multiples in a hoop if we're making small segment pieces. Like when we were making those for the Riley Blake Challenge, you could make several of those half square triangles in one hooping. And what I recommend everybody use, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute, is a certain type of stabilizer, because it ends up making a big difference in the end. So I'll tell you about that here in a minute when we do the tools. In fact, why don't we just get started with the tools right now? In fact, though, before we do that, let me take that off and let me bring up the question of the week. I'll show it to you again. So the question of the week that y'all need to answer is, how long have you been using Build-a-Quilt? Are you brand new? Have you been using it a day, a week, a month, a year, 18 months? Because that's about as long as it's been out on the market, is about 18 months. But let me know. Or if you've never used it before, but you are a quilter from like another method, like using your sewing machine, or like me, you've done it by hand, then let us know that too, because I love to know like where everyone falls in the quilting world, because I know we have some very, very active members of this group that have been quilters longer than I've been quilting, and for whatever reasons they can't quilt in their traditional format anymore. So now they're doing Build-a-Quilt, and they're quilting again, and they love it. So question of the week, how long have you been using Build-a-Quilt? put your answer in the comment, and everybody who comments will be asked, or will be in for a random drawing of a pattern that I'll share with you a little bit later, a brand new pattern. In fact, it is the pattern that we're going to be doing our first project with starting next week on Wednesday workshop. Alrighty, so let's get on to, let me say one other thing. I have a bunch of videos that are around things like stabilizer, the half square triangle, like the mama block, right? Every quilt I can imagine pretty much has a half square triangle in it somewhere. If it doesn't, it's a very different type of quilt. But I mean, it's just the most commonly used segment piece in quilting. So I'm going to list all of those videos for you to kind of browse throughout this week in the description of this live event. I can't put them in there now because I come to you live from a different platform so that I can go live to Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So when I'm done on the YouTube platform, I will go into the description and list all those with the links for you, okay? That way you can check those out throughout the week. But we're going to start off talking about tools. Now, if you have been a quilter for a while, I see we've got some new folks coming in. Hi, folks. Welcome. Type in, let us know who you are and where you're from. I'd love to hear from you. We've got some beginners, brand new to Build-a-Quilt, but 20 years with a 4-year break in quilting. Wow. Hi, Gail. Nice to have you here. So nice for you to be here. If you didn't catch our question of the week, Gail, I'll put it up. I'm going to put it up again later. But how long have you been using Build-a-Quilt? Are you brand new, never used it? Have you been quilting forever and a day, but you're just now starting Build-a-Quilt? Just let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear that. And if you have questions as I'm going tonight, ladies and gentlemen, if we have gentlemen with us, then please go ahead and put the questions in, and I'll try to remember to stop and get all those answered for you, because we've got about 45 minutes left. It's going fast. All right, tools. If you've been quilting for a while, you know that with quilting, your tools, especially your templates and your rulers, really stack up. You spend a lot of time and money gathering those supplies, and that's great. I've got a whole chest full of them over there, right? But with Build-a-Quilt, because everything gets built in, let's look at this segment piece. If you know what this segment piece is, let us know in the comments. I'll give you about 2 seconds to let you know, to let you type it in. This is a flying geese unit. It's a very popular one. You can see it was used in that Riley Blake block back there a couple of times. But with some pieces, you have to cut like really interesting angles and things like that. And so you need specialized tools and rulers and stuff like that. But all of that stuff and your seam allowances, so no squaring up your blocks at the end. Hey, we like that, right? You only really need one ruler, but there are two that I love. A 3x12, any brand that you like. I like this Quilter Select. Nothing, let's just say this, nothing I show you am I being paid to show you. These are products I've used before I even created Build-a-Quilt. They're just products I really, really like. And I will always tell you for sure my honest opinion. And I won't take on a product and show it to you if a company asks me, unless they know that I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I won't like just give them a 5-star rating and stuff like that. I don't do that. It doesn't help me, and it doesn't help you for sure. And helping you is my main interest here. So anyway, the Quilter Select, the reason I really like this brand is because of this non-skid on the back of it. I don't have to spray it with a non-stick spray or anything like that. And it makes it really easy to see because it's kind of a little light yellow color, that non-skid. So a 3x12, really important. And then the other one I like is their 6x12, because if I have to cut a 6-inch square, I just lay this down from the edge over and cut. Now, when we're talking about cutting, you don't have to be so super precise. Maybe you cut it 5 5/4 inches. That's fine, because in my patterns for Build-a-Quilt, I give you guys very generous fabric cuts. Once you get started, you might realize, oh, you know what? She's told me to cut this 6 inches. I know that I can do this on my machine and still get the flip and the seam and everything I need with a 5 1/4. And so you might want to make that mark in your pattern and do it. But I give you very generous cuts because a lot of new folks need that extra. A lot of us folks that have been quilting for a long time sometimes need extra because we get going really fast. So I always give you really generous cuts. But these two sizes really are the only sizes you need to do Build-a-Quilt. Okay, so that's simple and easy. A good pair of snips. I like these Karen K. Buckley's with the serrated blade. A serrated blade is good for a lot of reasons. I love the point, but mainly that serration helps keep fraying at bay. Okay, that's a whole nother discussion, and I know I've talked about that before. You need a rotary cutter, a general 45mm rotary cutter. I like also a 45mm pinking rotary cutter. As you can see, my blocks are cut with that pinking one. That gets a little bit of bulk out of your seams, and that's a great thing because getting that out of the seams makes it so much easier to have everything press flat. Okay, and then if you want a fabric glue pen, I like this one by Bowen. It's a French manufacturer. I'll give you this information in the description later too. You might want a really good fabric tape. Make sure you use something that says low tack or that it's made specifically for fabric. Or it's if you use a skin tape, a medical tape, make sure it says for sensitive skin. All of those have a very light tack to them and much less chemical. So it's not going to destroy your fabric over time. Okay. So that's another, and those are really the tools that are must-haves. If you want, and I didn't bring it over with me, a seam roller for rolling in while you're in the hoop can be very helpful as well, or one of those little bitty fabric irons in the hoop. Those are great as well. Okie doke. Alrighty, so those are tools. All right, so I'm going to set mine over here. Alrighty, so the next thing we're going to talk about is stabilizer. So if you have ever done any kind of patchwork in the hoop, let me know. I'd like to know that because you probably have always been told to use a cutaway, like a poly mesh. Is that wrong? No, absolutely not. But you know, as I know, those stabilizers stay in your quilts. Is that a bad thing? No, not a bad thing, but it can add bulk. It will add bulk in your seams, and it can add a little bit of bulk in your quilt. And when you wash your quilt, it can make it a little more puckered. Now, I like that. To me, a good quilt has all that old-fashioned quilty puckering to it because I love that look. That look says quilting to me. But with Build-a-Quilt, and this is a video that I will put in the description for you when we're done, is wash away. Just a plain old wash away like you would use for freestanding lace. Because when you wash your full-size block, so here's the block we did this last Sunday on Quilt Lab. Let me turn it around. You can see the back of it. I still have my stabilizer in there. I haven't washed it. But when I wash this and press it, all of that is gone, and all that's left is fabric and thread, just like when we do any other kind of quilting. So when you go to do your finished quilting, you've got your top, which is just your fabric and thread, your batting and your backing. And trust me when I tell you, because I've been working with this now for a few years, this is perfectly strong enough to do your piecing in the hoop. Okay, I wouldn't do that if it weren't. And I'm gonna link those videos for you in the description so that you can watch them, because I did a whole slew of experiments in my kitchen a couple summers ago to figure out if this was really going to work or not. So one of the videos is about washing it out segment by segment, and one of them is washing it out block by block. And I even did one where I washed it out of a whole quilt. It worked great, but that was a little ungainly. I had to do the whole tub washing thing to get that out, and it was a little ungainly. So I decided not to do my whole quilt at the end. So I get my blocks done, I go wash them, I let them air dry overnight, I press them the next day, stitch them together, bing, bang, boom, and I'm done with my quilt top. It really is that simple. So just a simple wash away stabilizer, any brand. In fact, I get a no-name inexpensive brand directly from Amazon because I can get it like 100 sheets at a time. Now, all you need to do, build a quilt, is a 5x7 hoop. You're going to see this in the demo in a minute. It's started already. Is a 5x7 hoop. However, and so I like to use pre-cut stabilizer. However, guys, if you have a bigger hoop and you want to do multiple segments in a hooping, go for it. I do that too sometimes. Like if I know I'm doing a quilt where I have to make, do you guys know the quilt pattern where you have to do like 2,500? That's right, 2,500 half square triangles. Holy heck, that's a lot of half square triangles. I couldn't do those one hooping at a time. That would make me crazy. So I get my biggest hoop out and I figure out how many I can get in there, and I do them. Still a lot of hoopings because that's just a lot of half square triangles to make, but you don't use nearly as much stabilizer. So you can, if you have smaller segment pieces, you can always do multiples in a hooping. That's not a problem at all. Alrighty. So that is the stabilizer and the tools. Let's build a quilt. Let's let you all know again, for anybody new coming in, the question you all need to answer for tonight is, how long have you been using Build-a-Quilt? Leave your answer in the comments and I'll do some random picking for a free pattern for the new project we're going to start next week. And I'm going to be telling you more about that in just a little bit. All right, guys. So let's get started with our demo here real quick. All right. First of all, out on the website, so uncommon.com, there is this. It's a Build-a-Quilt fabric quantity tip sheet. Could I have gotten any wordier, more wordy with that, right? But what it is I put together a chart that says, if you need to cut your fabric in these sizes, which are typically the sizes we use in Build-a-Quilt, and I'm going to share the cutting scenario with you in a minute, then if you have a 42-inch width, that's how many you'll get in a yard of fabric. If you have a 45-inch width, that's how many you'll get in a yard of fabric. It helps you with calculating when you're doing other projects. So this first little project we're going to start next week is wholly unique from me. But in the future, here on Wednesday Night Workshop, we're going to be picking a pre-existing pattern that we'll all have to get. And then we're going to translate it into the Build-a-Quilt system, because that's another reason I created this. There are so many beautiful quilt patterns out there, and you don't want to have to maybe be designing all of your own quilt patterns. You want to do those beautiful quilts you see. So with the Build-a-Quilt system, you can translate those into the Build-a-Quilt system and make those beautiful quilts. And we're going to be doing a project like that in the future. Okay. Probably it might be the one right after this next project, but this tip sheet, grab it off the website and that will be helpful for it. You just stick it in your notebook. Now there's another free pattern out there, and it's for a 5x5 half square triangle. Okay. This is generally how the Build-a-Quilt patterns come. You get your written packet, and I'll tell you what's in it here in a sec. And then you get all the digital files. And so for those of you that are wondering, what formats do they come in? Janome, Bernina, Brother, Baby Lock, Elna, gosh, you name it. So any of your common file formats are out there. There's like 12 of them, I think, 11 or 12 different formats. If you don't see your format, you can always send me a note and say, Diana, can we get it in this format? And I'll see if I can figure out how to do that for you. I have the ability to do some other formats as well through my digitizing software, but I've never used them before because a lot of them are either for much older machines like way older machines that aren't in use anymore, or they're for professional machines, but you might have one of those that you need. So if you don't see your format, you can let me know. And that's something starting now, I'm going to, on the piece that you see on the website, I'm going to list the formats on there for you guys. I should have been doing it all along, and I forget that sometimes. As a sole person doing this, I have to have checklists for checklists sometimes. So please forgive me for not necessarily getting all of that out there all the time. But I've got myself a note now that when I write up my patterns, to put those on there. But if you have, if you want to check with me even now, list your machine, I'll let you know. Or if you're like what format you're looking for, let me know. And I can tell you right now if it's already in there or if it's something that's not. But like I said, all the normal formats typically are in there. So here's your pattern. You'll always see what it is right here on the front, and it'll always tell you the sizes as well. And it will tell you in here, is this a full set? Is this just an information sheet? Because sometimes we do blocks, like blocks you see back here, and then later on we use those blocks in full projects. And so I just need to put out some information sheets because I can tell you, you need this block set and that block set, things like that. Okay. So all of that will be in here. And then your next page will always tell you what's coming in this package. So if you've got multiple segments in there, you'll see all those multiple segments so that you know what's in there, what you're going to be making. Then you have a supply list. You have a cut sheet. Now, this is what I call a cut sheet. Now, my cut sheets now, this is an older pattern. It's a free one to get folks used to making a half square triangle. Cut sheets now are a little bit different. They have more information and they're in color, so they're a bit more helpful. You get a color layout sheet and you get our patented coloring sheet. The coloring sheet, if it's for a full block, you get the full block. If it's for a specific segment, you get it for the segment. These coloring sheets are to help you decide on what fabric colors you want to use before you ever start cutting your fabric. So I know you guys love these. Those are always in there. Then you get some generalized instructions. You get a generalized piecing chart. That's something new. We've not always done a piecing chart. We did for a while those picture and all the writing kind of instructions, but a lot of people said those were more confusing for them. They liked watching the video and seeing how that goes. But I think that telling you when you're going to do this piece and when you're going to do that piece is still very necessary. So I've created a piecing chart for you that's going to start coming in all of the new patterns starting next week too. So you can grab this as well over on the website. Everything's over on the website, right? Okay. If you guys have questions, please don't be shy. Let me know. If you've got it, so does everybody else. And this is your time to ask. So now I want to talk to you briefly about fabric, because tonight we're going to just demo the half square triangle. I know it's not new for some of you, but for those of you that are new, that have already said so in the comments and all, I'm so thrilled to have you guys. Seriously, I really am thrilled to have you. I thought we'd just start with that simple block. That way you can get that free pattern, practice it throughout the week if you want to, and you're going to kind of know how this works. So your cut sheet will tell you to cut either squares, rectangles, or triangles typically. And so it'll tell you to cut squares. For a half square triangle, you cut one of one fabric and one of another. You need like a light medium or a medium and a dark. So two pieces of fabric that typically contrast each other. So I've chosen the purple and this print because this print has that purple in it too. Isn't that pretty? Oops, I just hung it upside down. There we go. Isn't that pretty? I love that. So you need two of these. Now, those two blocks, those two squares are going to give you two half square triangles, because the next part of your cut sheet will tell you to cut both of those on the diagonal. And what that means is you take, hang on, let me grab the right colors here, guys. Otherwise, it'll look very funny. So if this is your block, you're going to cut it down the diagonal, and then you're going to end up with two triangles. One half square triangle, two half square triangles. 1/2 square triangle, 2 half square triangles, okay? That's how simple it is to cut and prep your fabric. No, oh, do I have to add a 1/4 inch to it? Do I have to, yeah. All of that seam allowance, all of that is built in to the pattern and the sizes that you're cutting. So you don't have to worry about that. And like I said, we're going to be doing a 4-inch half square triangle tonight. So I've cut 2 6-inch squares. I have plenty of fabric. And like I said, for me now, I know I can cut mine smaller because I'm used to it. But I give you generous fabric cuts so that if you're new or sometimes you have problems with the flipping and stuff, you're always going to have enough fabric. All right, guys, let's go ahead and flip over to my other camera. Here we are at the machine. Let me turn on this light so you can see a little bit better. There we go. And I'll take this back out. So here is my 5x7 hoop, and it is stitched out. This is the boundary box. This is going to be the finished size of your block. And it's this second step is always to tell you where to put your first piece of fabric. So I'm going to lay my hoop down here and adjust my camera down a little bit. And I am going to grab, my fabric stick. If you have questions, please ask them and I will come back and answer those here in a minute. So I always like to take my fabric stick, which is wash away. So when I wash out my stabilizer, I also wash this out as well. And so none of that's going to stay in your piece. I give just a couple little swipes. Then I like to start with my lighter fabric, but sometimes that's not always possible. If it isn't, that's okay. But then I lay it right over and I can feel with my fingers. I know there, I think you can see that better. I can feel with my fingers right where those lines are. And I know that I have at least 1/2 inch all the way around there. That's great. And the first piece always gets laid fabric side up, always. Always, always, always. Then I'm going to put it into my machine and I'm going to stitch it down. Now, a little tip, as you get more used to doing the Build-a-Quilt system, you will get used to being able to lay your fabric down just by feel to know that you have a 1/4 inch basically beyond your seam allowance, which can help you not have to trim as much. But it doesn't matter one way or the other because you can always trim excess away. Let's take a look here. You can see I've got a little bit here. And you never have to trim outside your boundary box because that gets trimmed out when you trim your segment out of the hoop, right out of the stabilizer. But there's a little more than I like right here. So I'm just going to lay this down. Now, I'm a lefty, so if it looks funny, sorry. And I've been at this long enough that I know where I can get right in. It doesn't have to be a 1/4 inch. I wouldn't do less than 1/8 of an inch, but a 1/4 works fine. These are digitized with a small stitch length, so everything's staying together for you. Now, that's done. Now I need to take my second piece of fabric, and my second piece of fabric and all other fabrics are always laid right side down or right sides together. And I lay it right on top of that piece of fabric, just like that. I put it back in my machine. Let's try to come unthreaded. And I'm now going to stitch this down. And you'll see it when it comes back this way a little bit. There you go. And it is going to give me my perfect seam. Now I'm going to take and give myself a little bit of glue stick right there. The next is what we call the flip. I take this fabric and I flip it over. And it will come beyond my boundary box, which I can feel right there. Now, if you want to take your finger and give this a little finger press, fine. If you want to use a seam roller, fine as well. And then sometimes I like to use tape and maybe even tape an edge down if you want to do that as well. Or you can always hold your piece down a little bit if you want. Keep it away from that needle though, okay? We don't want any needles ending up in fingers. Oh, great. Gail, you said you're used to flip and stitch designs. That's awesome. Then let me just tell you, friend, you're set with the Build-a-Quilt system then. Although I don't like have you do your batting and stuff in these. This is like a pure type of patchwork system in the respect that we don't like pre-do the stabilizer and stuff. Alrighty, so now the very last thing you're going to do is you're going to stitch your stitch line, and it's going to be all the way around here. Why do I do that? Well, your stitch line does two things. One, it connects your fabrics at all the points where they come together, and it gives you that stitch line for when you stitch your segments together. If I washed this out now, this line all the way around here would come out because it was only done on my stabilizer. Your final line is done on your fabric and it stays there. However, I like to make sure that I cover up any of my fabric connection points where my foot might get caught. So my foot is going to go in this direction. So if I go this way, it could get caught there. So I put a little piece of fabric tape there, always outside of the line. That way you don't have to pick tape out of your stitch line. So always outside of the line. That's what we call our pro tip. And then I don't need to put it down here because my foot will come this way and it's not going to snag going in the same direction as that piece of fabric. Now I'm going to place this back into the machine and we're just going to stitch that. That's how easy it is, everybody, to do Build-a-Quilt. That's how simple it is. Super duper quick and simple. And now I have made one half square triangle and I have my other two pieces of fabric, and now I can make a second one. And trust me when I tell you, we talked about this last year, you can make literally hundreds of quilts just with half square triangles. So if you never did anything with half square triangles, you would still have a fantastic quilt collection. All right, I'm going to flip this back over to our regular camera. Here we go. So there we are. Now what I need to do, and you'll see this, I'm pretty sure I show you this in the full video that I'm going to link for you, is you take it out of your hoop and you take your ruler, and your ruler needs to have a 1/4 inch line on it. And you place that 1/4 inch line on your line here that goes all the way around, and you just trim it out. So in the end, you end up with a half square triangle like that. Okay. Super duper simple. And that is, yes, Gail's correct. It's a flip and stitch method for sure. And it makes patchwork in the hoop so very, very easy. Unlike a lot of things, though, you aren't doing your whole block all at once with the stabilizer in it, because with those systems, you tend to only be able to do smaller blocks. And as you can see, we do some really large blocks sometimes. Last year, we did a lot of 15 and 18 inch blocks because those jumbo blocks are kind of all the rage, right? I love them. I do. But this year, because the whole Riley Blake challenge was 10-inch blocks, this month's block is a 10-inch block, and last month's block was a 10-inch block. So this month's block is the spinning Argyle diamonds. Not a star, and we use stars a lot, but this one isn't a star. And then last week, with this pattern and the pattern from the month before, the blooming star, we created this. So we were able to mix and match pieces because the blocks were the same size. And you can do that with the Build-a-Quilt system. You can come up with other patterns just by using the same size overall block and mix and matching pieces. So, and I talked about that in Sunday's Quilt Lab too, so you might want to catch that video as well, all right? All right, everybody. So that is our quick demo for this week. Now, let me show you one more time for those of you that are just joining or haven't answered yet. How long have you been using Build-a-Quilt? Are you brand new? You never used it? You've been using it for the 1.5 years that it's been out? This system's actually 6 years old now, but I didn't put it out on the market until 1.5 years ago because I kept tweaking it and playing with it and tweaking it and playing with it. And trust me, you're so glad I did because at the beginning it would have been a mess. So how long? Let us know in the comments, because here in a little bit, we're going to choose a winner, random winner, for next week's pattern for the project. Next week, we're going to start working on this project called Stars and Diamonds. Isn't that pretty? Now, if you want to do it in these kind of red, white, and blue colors, if you're from the US or not Canada, the US or France, any country that might have red, white, and blue, and you want to do something a little like patriotic wall hanging kind of thing, this is it. This is part of what I call my first Build-a-Quilt system. Sometimes it's a new collection we're putting out, and they're called My First Build-a-Quilt. And what they do is they help you learn different things about the Build-a-Quilt system and give you lots of ways to play and expand what you can do with the system. So in this system, so this is the package that's going to be free to everyone, or not to everyone, but to the winner from the comments here in a little bit. It's going to be 20 by 20 inches. Sorry, I just had a little bit of see, the heat's getting me now. I'm having brain fog. So it's going to be 20 by 20 inches, a nice little wall hanging, nice little table mat kind of an idea. Or you could even turn it into a pillow cushion if you wanted to do that as well. But that will be the free pattern. This pattern will come out Wednesday morning next week. So you can have it before Wednesday workshop. So if you want to grab it, so you have it that night when we're starting to go through it. And this is going to take us at least probably 5 weeks, because not only in this package are you going to get the piecing, you're also going to get a finished quilting pattern that I'm creating. It's going to be a simple one, but it's the idea of getting you used to doing some in the hoop finished quilting if you've never done that before. So I'm going to let you see that. And then if you see me, I'm going to show you, actually, let's take this down for a moment. I'm going to show you real quick the pieces that you're going to be learning, because you're actually going to be learning several different segment pieces. We are going to be learning the solid square. Why in the world would you want to do a solid square, Diana? I know somebody's out there saying that. And the reason, let me turn that off so the light adjusts itself. There we go. The reason we do this is basically so that you don't have to worry about the measuring, and so that you have that stitch line for stitching your segments together so they all match up perfectly. Okay, so that's why we do these, because I know a lot of people hate just doing the regular old having to cut and make sure it's got that 1/4 inch on every side and all. You don't have to do that with Build-a-Quilt. So we do the square. So we're going to be doing squares. We're going to be doing some half square triangles. And these are all kind of in some different sizes too. So not necessarily like, you're not going to be making a 5 by 5 half square triangle like you can with the free pattern that you can grab tonight. It's going to be a completely different size. We're also going to be making rectangles. We're going to be learning how to do flying geese units, diamond in a square units. Let me turn that one over because I actually fussy cut that one when I made it a while ago. That's Tula Pink. If you don't know me yet, I love Tula Pink. Oh yes, I absolutely love Tula Pink. So that's going to be a diamond in a square. And then we're going to be doing something. We've done some of these before. And we're going to have a whole package of them coming out later. They should have been out by now, but my testers fell through, so that they're still coming. But they're what I call modified half square triangles. So here's your half square triangle. Here is a modified half square triangle. And the modification, as you can see, instead of it being a square with just two sides, this is 2 sides, but one side has a lot of different little pieces. And there's lots of ways you can do these. In fact, I think I've come up with 11 different types of modifications that you can do with these. I don't think all 11 of them is necessarily going to come out in that package, because I think that's a little overkill. But we're going to be learning how to do these in this new project that we're going to start next week called Stars and Diamonds. Okay, so over the next about 5 weeks or so, we're going to be learning how to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different segment pieces. And all of these segment pieces, guys, are segment pieces that you're going to use over and over and over again. And so you're going to be a pro at it, right? You're going to be able to knock them out with no trouble at all. And you're going to put it together in this pretty little pattern. All righty. So that's the pattern I'm giving away tonight to a couple of winners. And that's the pattern that will be available next Wednesday morning. And it will be $5, okay? The whole package. So you're getting all of these segment pieces, all of the other instructions and stuff, the coloring sheet for the whole project, so you can play around with it and figure out your colors. Each week we'll be doing 1 or 2 segment pieces. That's why I want this to be about a 5 or so week project, because I don't want to rush you. I know some of you are new to this, and also to do it all at once would just be, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to me too. So we're not going to do all of it at once. We're going to do a little bit each week, and over about 5 weeks, we'll have it done. Okay. I hope you love it. I've had a lot of fun making it, and I don't have it to show you yet because I want to save it for next week. You might see it in a short video, a video short this coming week sometime. I might tease it out there, but for now, I'm not going to show you the finished one. That would be amazing that all pieces match up. I will look at some past videos. Oh, great, Jean or Gail. That's great. I have hundreds of videos out there, so you can watch as many or as few as you want. What I suggest, really, go to the playlist tab and check out the Build-a-Quilt tab. That's going to really give you the videos that have the most like monthly Build-a-Quilt things we've done and projects and stuff like that. Okay. Or Quilt Lab, any of those will be really helpful. And then I'm going to be giving you some links here in the description when we're done. All right, everybody. Any questions at all from any of you? I know a couple of folks have had to leave, but some of you are still with us. Anybody at all have any questions tonight? Please feel free and ask. But next week we're going to start. It might be your first Build-a-Quilt, but that is one of our Build-a-Quilt patterns, which is really helpful for folks just getting started. But like I said before, to really help yourself out this week, grab this free half square triangle pattern and grab this free quantity sheet. Those things are going to be really helpful. And all of that is over at the website. Now, if you need to contact me, I really like it when you all comment in the description or in the comment area of these, because a lot of times you have questions, so does everybody else have them. And so it makes it really easy for me to get answers out to everybody. But I also know some of you, and I have a hard time believing sometimes that this many quilters are shy, because I know a lot of quilters and I don't know a shy quilter actually. But if you want your comments or your questions to be private, I get that. I get that. We're all friends though. So no bad questions, nothing like that. But I get it. If you want them to be private, you can always contact me at support@sewuncommon.com. If I'm awake, I will see it and I will get back to you right away. If I'm sleeping, please excuse me. I absolutely need my 8 hours, according to my doctor. I have a really hard time sleeping. And so if I get 6, I feel like I'm doing good, but my doctor keeps saying I have to get my 8 now that I'm a lady of mature years. That's all I'm going to say. Alrighty, so you can contact me at support@sewuncommon.com. All right, everybody. I'm wondering about the wash away being bad going down the plumbing system. That's a great question, Gail. And in the video, you will see I tell you about that, but I'm going to tell you about it now. I actually called my plumber. I said, I need to know, is this going to hurt my plumbing? I have to know that, because it's even when I started using it just for regular embroidery, because I do a lot of freestanding lace applique that I do wedding veils for. And I was concerned, and he told me absolutely not. And I said, why not? I mean, that's great, but why not? Because these are made from starch, like potato starch. So when you boil a big pan of potatoes, you're making those yummy mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving or something, and you pour that water down the drain, you're pouring more starch down the drain than you are with your wash away stabilizer. So it doesn't hurt it. Now, if you are on a septic system, something like that, it still should not hurt it at all. I asked him that too. But if you've been told by a plumber or something not to do it, ask him. If it's starch like from potatoes, will you? This isn't made from potato starch, but it's a starch like that. And he says no, then you know. But if you've been told absolutely never ever use it, this water is okay to put out on your flower beds after. The starch isn't going to hurt them. So you don't need to worry about this. And I've been doing this with the wash away for at least 6 years now, and I've never had a single problem. And there's something I put in mine. I put a tiny bit, you'll see in the video, a tiny bit of fabric softener, like a free and clear, doesn't have any perfumes and stuff in it. And it actually even breaks the starch and everything down even more. So I have never had a single problem, but that's completely up to you. Okay. All right. And you'll watch that video though, because I give you all that info in my experiments that I did. All right, everybody, let's see. Let me do. So if I choose your name, and I'm going to choose a couple, okay, I'm going to choose 2 people to get the free pattern. If your name gets chosen, please, over at support@sewuncommon.com, please send me an email. Say, hi, I won the pattern from Wednesday night workshop tonight, blah, 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 so that I have your email. Because if I don't have your email, I can't get in touch with you. Now, if you have subscribed over at the website, which is great because then you get first information and all that first, and the blog first and all of that, then I might have your name, but I don't always know that. And I know we've got new folks with us tonight. So just send me an email at support@sewuncommon.com. I will say this for all of you that are new. I do not ever sell my mailing list. I never give it to anyone. My husband doesn't even get to see it. I take your privacy as seriously as I take my own, and I take my own very seriously because one of my best friends is a security and privacy investigator for computer systems. And she put the fear of the Lord into me many years ago. So I'm fanatically careful with that stuff. So I never give that stuff out, guys. But please send me your name and stuff so that I can get you your free pattern set. And you will get your free pattern set next Wednesday morning. Okay, so don't look for it tomorrow because it'll be next Wednesday when it goes live for everybody. All righty. All right, are we ready? Let me see if this can start doing its little thing. It's doing it. It does this kind of a thing. I can't watch it because it makes me ill. And our first winner is Gail Jean. Gail, congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You'll be getting a free stars and diamonds pattern next Wednesday. Please send me your email as I requested. Congratulations. Yay. Let's everybody yay. Yay, yay, yay. All right. Now we're going to do another one. I can't watch it. It makes me, I get motion sick, so I can't watch this do it. Ruth Amdahl. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Amdahl. I am a language person, a language expert in another life. So I hope I got that right. Ruth Amdahl. Ruth, if you're still with us, again, thank you so much for joining. You'll be getting the free stars and diamonds pattern as well, pattern set. And everybody else, more information throughout the week, like on Sunday's Quilt Lab will come out. And I'll be telling you more about it and when to get it again and reminding you all of that. You guys, thank you so very much. We have a couple minutes left. Gee, Ruth is doing the happy dance. Very good. I love it. I love when you guys get excited for winning things. I love to give you guys stuff, so that makes me happy. We've got just a couple minutes. Any other questions at all? If not, then again, thank you so much for joining me for our first Wednesday workshop live. Please tell your friends that are quilters, even if they quilt in other ways, if they're also machine embroiderers, let them know because they might want, I know friends that are quilters and machine embroiderers, and they like to do anything and everything they can with their embroidery machine. as well as traditional quilting. So they make Build-a-Quilts. I have some really good friends. They make Build-a-Quilts with me all the time, and they're regular quilters. And then I have my group of friends that are only Build-a-Quilters because they were never going to quilt without it. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me tonight for Wednesday Workshop Live. It was so exciting to be with you all here live for the evening. Next week, we're going to start that new Stars and Diamonds project. I can't wait. It's been so delightful to be with you all. So as I tell you every week, thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't, if you dropped by tonight, but you've not subscribed to this channel yet, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do that. That way you'll know when more stuff comes up and you won't be surprised just to see it and jump in, and you can be part of the Build-a-Quilt family, and we love to have you. But I'm also going to ask you for a really big favor, and that is to like and share tonight's video. This group has grown so astronomically in the last year. I can't tell you how absolutely blown away and stunned I've been. We're over 430,000, maybe something like that. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. See our little award plaque back there from YouTube? That's because of all of you guys. And that's because all of you guys shared and liked these videos with friends and family. And I can't thank you enough. And each and every one of you mean the world to me. So I literally, when I say it, I'm being so sincere that I thank you from the bottom of my heart. So please like and share. I appreciate that so much. And until, wait, we get one more here. Say, oh, I'm so glad, Gail. I'm so glad you had a good time. Seriously. All right, everybody. Don't make me cry. Sometimes I cry. Sorry. Until next week, everybody. If you are new to us, you have never heard this before. If you have been with me for a while now, you know it. You can say it with me. Have a great week. Make some beautiful quilts by going and sewing life beautiful. Bye. See you next week. See you Sunday at Quilt Lab. Bye for now.